Hey, everybody, this is Reagan Adams with All Things Reagan. Thank you so much for joining us this evening, this morning, or wherever you're tuning in. So, I have some very special guests. We say we're going to save the best for last, and we absolutely did. So, y'all already know I don't introduce my guests. I don't do it because I want them to make sure that they give all the information so you can follow them because they are very follow worthy. So, I'm not going to tell the whole story. I'm gonna let them talk a little bit and then we'll go ahead and get into it. So, ladies, thank you for coming. And if you would go ahead and introduce yourself, and whichever one of you want to get started, go ahead.
Okay. Well, I'll start. I am Ebony Petty. I am the creator and host of It's Me, E. Marie podcast, where we encourage, inspire, uplift, and empower. Um, I'm also a licensed minister. Um, I love God. I love just people. I love, like, even though that's my tagline, encourage, inspire, uplift, and empower, that is who I am. I'm an encourager. And I'm very transparent. I anybody that I connect with, I can discern and just know, okay, I know where this is going. And, I just hit it off with people very well. I'm a mother of two and a grandmother of one. My grandbaby Milani, and who I love and adore. Um, we're gonna stop right there because I got a lot
Well, nice to meet you, Miss Ebony, and all of that.
to say. Yes, hey.
I'm Kendria Mitchell. I am the founder of Be Salty podcast. I'm in the process of branding my podcast to be apparel, um, empowerment seminars, books, and more. My podcast was actually birthed out of coming out of an abusive marriage, being married to a pastor, actually, having a full live ministry, but unable to speak about the turmoil that was going on in my household and my marriage. So once God gave me the courage to get the strength to leave that marriage. At that point in time, he was able to help me walk through a season of therapy and restoration and healing and wholeness. So out of that was the Be Salty podcast was birthed. With that, it's everything to me. Like, it's my passion. I too am like you, Ebony. Like, I don't just say I want to see people go to from, like, right, to from brokenness to wholeness and thereof. Like, I want to actually be that person that helps people walk out through the journey of life. Initially, it started off with just women, but I believe that God opened up the doors for men to come in as well. Oftentimes, we talk about changing the narrative, but we never do the work to change the narrative. So I provide that space to be able to come together and not only talk about the narrative, but also find ways to tips and strategies, and then implement them. That space is for us to grow together because we're on this journey together. So.
Yes, that's good. So, the reason that I have chosen both of you ladies are for a couple of reasons, which is kind of the reason I choose everybody for my events or any podcast that I do. Is I like real and relevant conversations. I like when we can talk to one another and learn from one another. And like you said, with change, like, I want to see change. I like to try to work on myself daily, and as I work on myself, help others to do the same. And not only are you women, excuse me, beautiful ladies on the outside, but also on the inside. And I just actually met Kendria last week, like, in person, when I attended her event, and I just felt her spirit, and she just seemed very real and raw, and I knew I wanted to connect with her. And Ebony, like, we really just started connecting, but I still again feel your spirit as well, and which is also real and raw, and I just feel like you can bring something to the table to help people, and so that's what I want to do. So the main thing that God has been laying on my heart the past couple of weeks, and actually a couple of years, but he's bringing it back really strong now, is how men are not treated well by women. And I know women are like, I don't know. But I'm a woman, and I have dealt with some of the things. I have been those things on the back end that haven't been pleasant for a man, because I didn't know who I was. I was not healed. I was not whole. I didn't have a relationship with God. It was just a whole bunch of stuff. So I want to talk about being saved. I want to talk about being unsaved and being in relationships, marriages, how we can better treat our men. So even men in our relationships, or just men in general, because I really feel like we need to cover them. They're not covered like they should be. And so I just want to get into that. So the first thing I named this is submission is sexy. And I got that from not Cora Jakes. What's CD Jake's wife's name?
Oh, Sarita.
Sarita, yes.
Uh-huh.
So she was at some conference and she was talking about submission. And the way she said it, I was like, oh, that's all right. But she was just talking about how women should be submissive and how she's submissive to her husband. And I love watching her in the background, because I really believe she's such a cheerleader for him. Like, she just in the background with her little hands, and she just be like, ooh. And I know that has to make him feel a way, that, she's pouring into him. And so she was just talking about how submission is sexy and how women don't do it anymore. And so I want to talk about that. So if you would, ladies, give me your definition of submission. You can take a moment and pause on it and think.
I think that submission ultimately is like yielding to an authority, but doing so in love. Like, it's, for me, it's something I want to do. It's not something that I'm commanded to do. It's not something that I'm any type of dictatorship attached to it. Like, it's a willingness that I have.
Yeah, and I'll piggyback on that in regards to not being forced. It's more so about servitude, and thinking about because when you're serving someone, a lot of times we're thinking about just here is what they need versus it's a mutual thing. And so it's a give and take in a sense. And so a lot of times I think I might be getting ahead of myself.
No, go ahead.
As it relates to submission, we think of it as being subservient, having a master and you being a slave or whatever. And I think a lot of times, based off of how we were raised, what we saw, we then imitate that. When in actuality, if you look in Ephesians, that's not really what the writer was talking about. Paul, when he wrote this particular text as it relates to submission, when he wrote this text as it relates to submission, he was talking about as it relates to service, serving those that God has connected you with. And submission is not just as it relates to your spouse or whatever. That's anything that we do. We're submitted and under the governing authority of that set individual that we're servicing. And so, when it comes to submission, it is also about it's about service, but it's also about thinking about that other person and their needs and being open-minded as it relates to their opinions, how they view things. Is really submission also is about intimacy. So into me, you see. And so, we really can't be submissive or really serve unless there is true authenticity and vulnerability.
I think that was very good, both of you guys, but it was a lot of things you said that I don't see in women. The first thing you said is servitude. A lot of women, when you say serve, it's like you cursing. I'm not serving him. I'm not fixing a plate. I'm not. And you keep talking about, I'm not going to do, I'm not going to do, I'm not going to do. And I remember, did y'all watch the Huxtables?
Yes.
The Cosby Show? Okay, do y'all remember when Claire was asking Elvin about serving him some coffee or something, and it was something like that, and she was like, I'm not gonna do this, you can go in there and get your own coffee, basically. And it was just like, I'm not serving you, you can do it yourself. But what is wrong we're serving. It's kind of like seed time and harvest. So when you're planting into somebody, you're going to get a harvest. And then also it's reciprocation. So if you're dealing with the right person, when you concentrate, like you said, on giving, that person should be giving back. So it's going to be like this the whole time.
Yeah.
We're constantly giving to one another when we're not concentrating on ourselves. But I believe we're in a selfish society, and women specifically are very selfish.
And it's crazy that you said that. Go ahead.
No. I was gonna say, like, ultimately, when I think about that, when I think about women I encountered that have that type of attitude about submission, it directly relates back to their relationship with God. Because if your relationship with God if there's an imbalance somewhere there, typically there's going to be an imbalance in your relationships, right?
Mm-hmm.
So when you think about Jesus Christ, like, he was selfless. You know, he says, I didn't come to be served, I came to serve, right? Mm-hmm. So when we take, he's an example of where we should follow. Now, granted, we're not walking in perfection as he was, but we should be striving to, right? Mm-hmm. But when you have that imbalance and you have that selfish type of mentality about what I am not going to do, then you're no longer denying yourself. Like, I feel like that denial comes from your understanding and your relationship in God, right? Mm-hmm. But women today, I feel like and not all women, but some, you know, there's a disconnection there, right? And so because that I honestly feel like that comes from culture, right? Yeah. It comes from, like, I don't know, maybe these women may be a boss at work. You know what I mean? And so when you're walking in that authority, sometimes it doesn't cut off at the job, you know, mm-hmm. It transcends into the household. And then now you're bringing that authority into the household. You know, let me not say I don't understand, because I do understand. When I got married, I didn't understand submission, right? Mm-hmm. I'm thinking, we're both here, we're both working, we're both doing the same things. Why am I submitting to you, right? Mm-hmm. But he's submitting, or he should be. Mm-hmm. Why am I not?
Right.
It's not a negative thing to me, honestly.
It is not.
And to be honest with you, one thing I do want to say is, typically a submissive woman is going to have everything that she wants in the relationship.
Let's start there. Speak on it.
One man is not going to want to lay down his life for you if you are pleasing to him. I mean, I don't understand. You got with this person, but now all of a sudden you don't want to yield to your own desires. Mm-hmm. I mean, granted, it's not a situation of like being a dictator. I always say dictator because that's what people think. But I want to do this, right?
Yes. Exactly.
I think people get in relationships for the wrong reason, though. And I was having this conversation. I'm going to kind of skip back some. Do we know really what love is?
Mm-mm. And the thing about it too, related to love, you know, we get so caught up with feelings, and feelings come and go. You know, and I think love is is something that we choose to do on a daily basis, regardless of what you may feel like, what it may look like. And honestly, I just went through a season on learning what real love really is. You know what I'm saying? Unconditional love, because a lot of times we love based on condition. Let's just keep it real. You know, if the conditions are favorable, you know what I'm saying, then we're going to do X, Y, and Z to make sure, or to ensure that what we want to get out of this situation, it's going to work out in our favor. But it ain't always like that. You know what I'm saying? And so unconditional love, the prime example of Jesus on the cross, you know what I'm saying? And for God so loved the world that he gave. And the thing about it, when we think about love, it's based off of what I can get versus what you give. You know, love is an action. We don't just say it, but we show it in our actions. And a lot of us, I say us because, as I stated, I'm getting to that point where I really understand what love truly is. But some people really don't know what love is. All they know is what people say. Mm-hmm. But love is an action. You got to show. Love has feet. It does.
But that goes back to the giving. And if we're not giving, can we truly love?
That's it.
Mm-hmm. No. Oh my gosh, this is getting good. I'm excited. Because I'm actually like, like I say, I have these conversations for others, but I have them for myself because I feel like I'm in self-discovery every day. And I know I want to be married again and I want to have a really good relationship, but I really feel like I can't do it by myself. So that's when I see sisters, I really feel like we should have a sisterhood to have real conversations
Yeah.
so we can help one another and be open and be vulnerable. And that's going to be my next question. Why is it so hard for women to be vulnerable, not with just men, but with each other?
I think it has a lot to do with being hurt, growing up and having relationships with other females and getting talked about behind your back, or feeling like it was a competition or whatever. And so therefore we kind of put ourselves in these silos, and it's me against the world, so to speak. But the thing about it is that in order for us to have healthy relationships, we actually have to do a self-examination and begin to work on ourselves, because truth of the matter is we attract who we are. So in our brokenness, I made a post not too long ago. In our brokenness, we attract to who we are. In our wholeness, we attract who we are. So a lot of times we got to take a self-assessment and do an evaluation. Okay, where am I at in this state of life? Who am I attracting? Okay, this is what I need to pinpoint, and I need to begin to work on this, because this is not where I desire to be. I desire to be here. So in order for me to be here, I got to do some internal work. And when I begin to do the internal work and begin to uproot, then I can begin to attract, because I'm healing. I can attract what I desire.
Okay, Kendria.
Yeah, I mean, that's really everything I would have said. I think she did. She said everything I would have said. I mean, my first thing is always self-examination. Like, I believe that in order to have a healthy relationship, there has to be a level of accountability. And in that level of accountability comes from a self-examination. If you're not truly healed or operating from a healed space, then you're always kind of like in defense mode, right? I feel as though that we grow, or we don't grow past the level of trauma that we may have impacted and that we may have encountered, right? And
Right.
so we operate from there. We don't want to be hurt again. We don't want to be exposed again, to put to shame or any type of humiliation. So we're going to have that defense mechanism up, and we're not going to let somebody cross those lines, so we don't have to feel those that hurt and pain again, right? So I'm not going to trust this female because somebody else did me like this last time. We're not putting in the time and work to go through that healing stage and being restored. And so that lack of trust, unfortunately, it's a stronghold.
Yeah.
It is what it is. Got to do the work.
So, Kendria, how do we get that across to women?
I think you have
especially the ones who want to be in relationships. Because go ahead.
You have to first build a personal relationship with these people. Like, I don't believe in correcting people or giving guidance or anything like that if I haven't built a relationship with you. Like, I feel as though that's what happens first. You allow the opportunity to be trusted and to trust. Right. And then you're able to share certain things. People are able to receive things from you. And that also comes from, having a little discernment, as well. But in my situations, I believe in building relationships. Right. And then, hey, we can be open and transparent with one another, and you can trust.
Right. That's good.
Yeah.
Okay. I was supposed to be ready for the next one. I was like, oh yes.
I want to say something. So, like, when you posted that the flyer, submission is sexy, right? The first thing that came to my mind, because I was like, okay, where's Reagan going with this, right? The first thing that when I posted it on my page, a guy said, how is submission sexy, or is it really, or something like that, right? And the first thing that came to my mind was, a lot of women they hold the reins of power at work, with their kids. But oh, how good it feels to go home and to be able to surrender those reins to somebody that you love. Like, that is the ultimate turn on to me. Like, allowing yourself to be vulnerable enough that you given the gift of trust, to your person or whatever. It's like, if we're in a healthy and well-balanced relationship and we have mutual sharing of trust, like, I feel like that allows me to let go and to be willingly
Yeah.
submissive, right? And when you operate in that submission, it's like, to me anyway, it's bringing passion, it's bringing, safety, it's bringing strength, it's bringing what life,
Uh-huh.
to my healthy relationship. I don't know about y'all, but I feel so comfortable and vulnerable with this man. It's almost nothing that I probably
on,
wouldn't do.
chick.
I'm
Yes.
just saying. That's where I'm at. So when you said submission is sexy, I'm like, it most definitely is.
It is, but that is a very safe space to be in, and I don't think, especially Black women, want to it's like I want to hold on to this. I want to hold on to the power. I don't know how to take my hat off when I get home because I haven't been able to, and I do understand. I do understand that some men have not been in position mentally, spiritually fit to be able to hold that. I got that. I understand that. So I'm not saying all women, but where we've been hurt, we have really got to be intentional on healing. So when that man does come, we're able to let go. I remember seeing my mom. I grew up in a 2-parent household. And I remember seeing my mom. She made great money when I was a kid. And my dad, he made great money too, but he didn't make as much as she did. But she made sure, listen to me, she made sure that he was the king of the house. He didn't lift a finger. And when you say serve, listen to me, that's how I got my husband. I was low-key manipulative, I'm going to be honest. But I knew when I wanted my husband, I knew how to get him because why? I saw my mom. She was rubbing feet. She was cooking dinner. She was fixing plates. She knew what to do, how to do, when to do, and she did it with ease. Do you understand me? And guess what? Even though it was not a great relationship and I can't tell her story, but she didn't miss nothing. She didn't miss nothing. Do you understand me? And when I got married, even though it wasn't a great relationship, I didn't miss anything. Our daughter didn't miss anything because I was so concentrated on giving into him. I did not miss. And so when we learned, and like, I think I was a pretty cool wife, but now when you guys help me out, I'm going to be super bomb. So I'm going to be like Sister Kendria and Sister Ebony with my testimony time here soon. Like, girl, guess what? I can just let it go.
Listen, let me tell you something. I was married 12. I was married 12 years. I was with this man for longer, right? I went through all the while growing a church, right? Physical abuse, spiritual abuse, emotional abuse, and mental abuse, to the point where I almost took my life. Like, my son found me. I was diagnosed with manic depression. I was struggling with anxiety. I developed high blood pressure. My family did not know, and I'm dealing with this. And I'm getting up every Sunday and Wednesday and Thursday at church, and I'm speaking good of someone who is abusing me, right? And still serving, right? And one would say, like, I don't see how you did that, or why did you do that, right? But it was honestly because God says, and I take his words serious, to heart. He says, count it all joy when you fall into various trials. And when you're in the midst of that thing, you can't see the joy. You can count, right? But it ain't the joy you counting, right? For me, it was the pain, it was the hurt, it was the abuse, right? But when I go back and when I look back at where God has brought me from, right? And when I look at each and every time a woman crossed my path dealing with something that I have dealt with, God has put me in a position to where I can not only relate to this woman, but I can minister to this woman, right? And I didn't come out of that saying, "Ooh, I'm gonna hate men," or "I'm not gonna serve a man," or "I'm, not gonna be submissive to a man." I told myself, I said, "Okay, God, I went through this for this reason, for this purpose. Now this next man that come into my life, oh, he gonna get it all.
Yeah.
Right. He gonna get the business. Like, this man may have thought he broke me down and I wasn't gonna be able to be restored. But like they say in chapter 42 of Job, he's gonna give me double for my trouble, and I'm ready to receive.
Come on, ready.
I'm not ready. I'm ready.
Come on, ready.
See that for myself.
Yes.
Quick question. I'm going to ask this question and I'm going to give a short story. So, can men really be honest with women? That's the question. Here's the story. So, I've had a few women inbox me, and they are typically have been overweight. Um, and they okay, but typically overweight. And just wrote me this, long love letter, and basically saying, I just don't understand why the men don't like the heavy women, but I want this, 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 and this. And I felt in the moment I couldn't say, if you want this from this man, why he shouldn't have to not lower his standards, but he may want a fit woman, because you want a fit man, you want to stain to work, you want to bust your back out, but you don't want to do your part. Why should he have to settle? And so here I am in the position like I'm a woman. I should be able to say, sis, hey, we're gonna have to tighten up on this diet, or he shouldn't have to just accept you. Mm-hmm. And so I believe if I couldn't say it, I know men can't say it. What are your thoughts about that? Can men really be honest with us? Not even just about our weight, but just anything, period, that they want to talk to us about.
I think that they can, but it determines the level of maturity, I feel like, of the person you're dealing with. Mm-hmm. I personally like to have that space of saying what I want and allowing the person that I'm with to say what they want. It's the only way that I feel like I can truly know what I'm dealing with. Mm-hmm. I tell this man, tell me, I know it may sting, but I'd rather know than not know.
Yes.
Yes.
And
I understand the motive behind it, right? Mm-hmm. His intent is not to hurt me. It may hurt, everybody don't have the best delivery. But I understand that it's coming from a place of love and not, to tear me down. So, I mean, I actually posted that on my page the other day, and I would say 99% of the men said they cannot say what they want to say.
Mm. And I think that has a lot to do with creating a space for them too. If they don't feel safe in a space, I don't feel like they're going to be open. Now you have some men who just going to say whatever they want to say. Because one actually came to mind from your Dating is Dead event, right here. I am not calling his name over here. I'm just going to say he just had a birthday. But anywho, he going to say whatever he want to say, and that's it. But I think too, in order for men to be able to be expressive,
Milton.
they gotta be.
Listen, when I side note, sorry, put a pen right there. When I have my event here for Dating is Dead, he's got to come.
Man, I love him.
He gives the real. Whether you want to hear it or not, exactly. It's real. It's real. It's real. For him to be his age and he say that he has not been properly loved, that's a problem. It's a problem somewhere. It's somewhere. We don't know what side, but go ahead.
Yeah. Go ahead. But, as I was saying, creating that space, but also too, men have to be tapped into their emotions. And a lot of men really aren't connected to their emotions. It's more so, their anatomy, and not being able to express themselves verbally. So it's more so in a sexual manner, but that's not really what we need right now. We need you to talk, And so I think that's the thing, creating that healthy space and not belittling them as it relates to them expressing how they feel.
Right.
And I do want to challenge the women who are on here. If you are in a relationship, give that man the benefit of the doubt to express himself. And like Ebony said, give him that space to feel safe. As long as a man feels safe with you and he feels like, hey, when I said this, there was no type of retaliation. It didn't come up later to belittle me. I think that will allow him to engage more and to be a little more open and really communicate his true feelings. You know, they don't want to have that opportunity where, okay, I'm telling you how I feel, and then now I'm getting retaliated against, you know?
Right.
You know, so create that space and understand that also give them some grace, you know, if they don't say the right words, you know, because men just sometimes aren't able to communicate themselves the best.
Exactly. And two, I want to say, as a single mother, well, I'm dating, but still, you know, being a single mother of two and having a son, and you have a male, you know, a partner, you can't talk to him like you talk to your son, your children, because he's not your child, you know. And I think that's another thing that we have a hard time as single women, you know, being single mothers for so long. You get in a relationship, you talk down to your man because you looking at him like he your little brother or your son based off of his actions. And we got to reel that in and literally create a healthy space for men to be, as well as ourselves, you know, and have dialogue where, you know, we're free to be. And that's, as I stated earlier, as it relates to submission, you know, when we are in a place of servitude, you know, we open that space for ideas and people's opinions or whatever. And so we have to be mindful of that.
Okay. I have been seeing a lot of articles about Black women learning or starting to be in the soft phase of their life. So, like resting, just taking it easy, not having to be all to everybody. And Kendria texted me, you know, I texted her and she said, well, how are you? And I was like, I'm tired. And it's just like, I should be tired because I really didn't do anything. Like, I went to get my hair done, I went to eat, and I had to get my daughter, but it's still like, go, 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 go. And for me, I've spent years going. And it is very hard for me to relax. And I believe that is that's the season that we are in now, is learning how to rest and stop trying to do everything in our own will and let God be God. And how important is it, do you think, this soft season is for women and getting in touch with who they are?
I feel as though I've been in that season for so long, being soft. Like, it's necessary. It's for your mental. You know, it's definitely necessary for your mental. That overload can sometimes wear you out to the point to where I feel like if you're not strong in Christ, like you can waver a bit. You know what I mean? That recharge, that refueling, that important, that me time, that self-care. Yes. We need that. That's so necessary. And I believe that the Bible says on the seventh day he rested. Yes. He rested. Like, you know, so that should be a part of our schedule, our weekly schedule. It should be a part of it. It shouldn't be a situation to where we work. Okay, let me take a vacation. And I'm not saying that you have to leave the city. I'm just saying maybe you can go and get you a room. You know, disconnect for a minute. You know, I know for some of us, well, my children are grown, but even when they weren't, you know, I have to disconnect for a minute. Like, mama needs some time too, you know. Yes. And don't feel guilty for that. It's necessary.
Or you will take their head off. Listen.
Because I used to. I did until I had to discipline myself, and I had to tell them, I was like, look, now, when I get off work, because I used to get off at 4:30. I was like, when I get off at 4:30, 6 o'clock, give me until 6 o'clock. But right now, I got to decompress literally every day. I know, you know, we work Monday through Friday and have our weekend, and then, you know, Sunday to Sabbath or what have you, or whatever, Sabbath, Saturday. But every day I had to be intentional, and I still am being intentional about my time of rest, because if I'm not good for me, I'm not going to be good for nobody else.
Right.
So
I take myself, I go to the, I get a massage every week. That's non-negotiable. I go get me a massage. I used to take my, go get me something to eat. I used to do a lot by myself, especially during the pandemic, you don't, I felt like that was the best time to learn how almost.
Sure
Yeah.
was.
I guess for those who don't have kids, I don't have anybody at home. So
Jealous.
Man.
and
Yeah,
I
you
leave. I
living
leave
your
for
best
work. I leave
life.
for work 3 days a week. So when I leave for work and I'm in that hotel, it's just like it's just me again. So,
Mhm. Yeah.
but because you don't
Jealous.
have that, you need to, and that also comes with that sisterhood, building the sisterhoods up. So when you need a sitter, because I know you just moved here, just having somebody you can trust to keep your children, keep your child, and they understand the importance of you needing that self-care.
Mhm.
Yeah.
You know,
I just had that conversation with somebody. Do y'all remember that Tyler Perry movie with Nia Long and them, the single mother
yeah,
club or
yeah.
something
I
like
Oh
that?
heard
yeah.
that. Yeah,
I
Uh-huh.
thought that was like the best
yeah,
idea.
yeah.
Yeah.
It's the best idea because we need help. And
Yeah.
sometimes we just, can't get it.
Yeah.
Just we can't. Now, thank God, my daughter, she's 14 and she's very responsible, thank God. But I don't always want to just leave her here. You know
No,
what I'm
yeah,
Right.
saying?
yeah.
So yeah, so that's a whole nother situation. But we're doing well. This is the second one.
That's good.
Did y'all have any other questions? I mean, I have some, but I just want to make sure that I'm not leaving like y'all out if y'all want to ask anything or say anything.
I just feel like, um, because I have been like I just have been hard almost all of my life, and I had to be just based off of the stuff that I encountered. But when it was like God pulled everything from underneath me. He literally pulled the rug from underneath me. And I just literally was just out there, just vulnerable. And I feel like in that time of being vulnerable and just being exposed, that brought me back to my femininity. And it's not to say that, that role that I was playing, having to be that masculine, having that masculine role, it was needed for that season. But now it's like God just softening my heart, so that I can be the woman that He has created me to be, and just embracing the season. It's uncomfortable, but I know it's necessary. Like everything has been necessary to get me to this point and everything afterwards, but it's just embracing the season of what, God is doing in the now, because what He's doing is not necessarily just for right now, but for what's to come. And I'm realizing that. And I think that submission, I'm so looking forward to serving my man of God.
Listen.
Oh,
You went right back to that. You know what? I'm glad you mentioned that about the femininity. Because a lot of us women have had to be so hard for so long
Mhm.
that it's like that feminine energy is like hard to get back. I mean, it's hard
Yeah.
to get back, right?
Mhm.
And so I was talking to my daughter about this actually, and I don't know why she has any masculine energy in her. I guess she picked it up from her friends, because I'm like, girl, you didn't even see this. But I was telling her just the other day, I was like, your feminine energy is like a tender power, right?
Yeah.
A soft power, right? And I was telling her that tenderness, that softness doesn't mean that it's weak or that you're being a pushover.
Mhm.
And the power also don't mean that you're harsh or loud. It's just it's a power in submission, right?
Yeah.
And I feel like that again, like I was talking about, like that boss chick, girls run the world thing. I'm so grateful for that.
Mhm.
But it doesn't mean that we should tear men down or try
Right.
to be like men, to operate in those moments. Like I feel like God was very intentional when He
Mhm.
made us, right? He
Yeah.
made us soft for a reason. right?
Mhm.
It's a disservice to ourselves and others when we try to operate outside of the way God created us. I mean,
Exactly.
he created the man. It says that he is the, I mean, we're the weaker vessel, right?
Uh-huh.
For a reason. Not weak as in we're weak. You know what I mean? But the man is out there in the forefront for a reason.
Mhm.
God forbid somebody break in my house and he watching the kids and I'm going to see who at the door.
I'm not doing
Right.
it.
You know,
Right.
so relaxing in that feminine energy and just allowing that man to be in his masculine energy. Listen, that's I live for it.
I want
But
to talk about the order. That's important. And we keep talking about God because we are saved and we know God is the head of our lives. But what
Mhm.
happens when you don't have God? You don't know who God is, and you're wanting to have this relationship, and you don't understand the order of things. What happens?
Mm,
You operate in dysfunction.
you do.
That's what happened. But hey, some women have told me that it works for them. And so I don't
Yeah.
try to change what you have. I say, hey, if it's working for you, keep doing it.
Yeah, and low key, it's not working because the women are tired of doing everything. You know what I'm saying?
We
Like
yes.
that we talk about the roles. Everybody said the roles, the roles, the roles, and I do understand sometimes the woman has to go to work and the man stay at home. I got all that. I got the
Mhm.
roles. But like I said, at the end of the day, what I saw when my mom made twice as much as my dad, but guess what? He was the head of that house, and we
Right.
knew it. I knew it. I
I
knew
think
it.
I think we get so caught up with what society says
Hmm.
is how it's supposed to be that we don't take an assessment of what our needs are related to our home
Right.
and creating a culture that works for us versus allowing what we see or what has been portrayed we then duplicate and it don't work. So I think we as individuals we need to figure out what really works for us and cultivate that. So regardless of these gender roles, whatever works for you, work it to your best ability. And
Yeah.
don't let nobody come and try to mess up what has worked.
As long as he's the head. Listen, I'm gonna
Right.
be honest. I just want to sit in the passenger seat with my eyes closed. And if you need me, just tap me and I'm gonna be here to assist. I don't listen, I'm tired. I don't want to do nothing else. I don't want to. You be the man. I want you to be
Mhm.
the man. You hear me? I want
Yes.
listen to me. I want you to be the man.
When
Okay.
I say
I'm not
Listen,
I
gonna
got
stop
I
you.
checked.
I am in some group. I can't remember the name of it. And I really don't participate in a lot of groups.
Mhm.
But if I see something that sparks my attention, that grabs my attention, I might respond to it. If I don't know you personally, I'm saying if I don't know anybody from the group. So the girl posted and said, she said, God, you need to give us some more men because the one you have down here don't know how to lead. And she put hashtag I'm snitching, right? And so under the post, it was so many responses and they was tearing men up. I mean, they was tearing them up. Do you hear me? And so as I'm reading and I'm looking, I was like, should I post? I was like double dutch like that. I was like, and I finally responded and I said, instead of emasculating men in a thread, um, why don't we have the grace or why don't we extend the grace to understand that some men may not have been exposed to leadership,
Mhm.
and let's pray that someone crossed their path that can open up that door for leadership, right?
Mhm.
And then I don't know if it was that part that got him or then I kind of put another little thing and I said because I know I don't want to be a man and I don't want to lead. I want to relax in my feminine energy and be
Yeah.
just fine. And so the first response, the girl said,
Oh, you will pick me. You will pick me.
listen, I needed you. I needed somebody. That girl said, so what are you saying? She said, leadership, and she put the equal symbol, a man. And so I said, just because he's a man doesn't mean he's a leader, but it is his God-given responsibility.
Mhm.
And baby, after that
That was the
response, they
end.
tore me up. I
Uh-uh.
logged off. Do you hear me?
I know they did. Oh, I know they did. And that was my next thing. As you were talking, and I said earlier, that's why God has been showing. I'm telling you, that's why God has been showing me these men because they're miserable, and we put our mouth. Not we don't, but the other ones do.
I got you.
Put their mouths on these men, and it's like they can't win. So why are we even going to try? You keep saying there's no good men. You will have what you say. That's what the word
Exactly.
says. Every time you keep saying, he don't have this, he ain't gonna have it, because you keep saying that.
But at
But
home
what I
praying.
feel
But
like
at home
God
praying.
needs is a mouthpiece. Women need
That's
to
it.
be a mouthpiece for the men now, because they obviously they can say something, but it'll be better received coming from us if more of us are not afraid to say, you know what, it's you need to point your finger at you, ma'am. These three are pointing back at you. What are you doing? You keep talking
Exactly.
about what these men are not doing, but what are you doing? Are you speaking life into them? Are you saying, babe, you can do anything, even if it's not your man? Are you speaking into these men's lives to say, you know what, you can do it? If you can't do it, who can I help you connect to another man
Right.
or a therapist or whatever to help you be who you need to be? We're not covering them. They are
No.
very uncovered right now. And
Exposed.
it's like here was the thing. I had a dream maybe a year ago, and my husband, excuse me, ex-husband called me on the phone, and I was like, I'm not answering his phone. He did. Like, well, no, we're not doing it. But he called me in a panic. And I saw a room full of Black men of all walks of life. So like the hood dude, the business dude, it's like all walks of life between the ages of 30 and 50. Black men just in pockets. And so when my husband called, he was like, you gotta come and get me. It was a distress call. But I'm not gonna go through all the dream, but after I broke it down, it's really these men won't help. They won't help, and they need us. They need us. That's how God created it. They need us, and they are uncovered, and they really don't have a voice like they need to. But I really believe on the other side of that, God is raising men back up to where they're supposed to be. I really believe that. And some of these women gonna have to get it together. If you want a man, they are there. They are absolutely there. But we gotta watch our mouth. We have to have accountability for us and learn how to speak into them and be patient. And I'm talking to myself. Be patient. We don't even have patience with ourselves. If something ain't going right in 5 minutes, then we just off of it. I'm talking to myself. But we have to learn. We need each other.
Yeah.
We need each other. And if you want to be married, if you want to have a relationship, you have got to be open. You have to be honest. You have to be self-correcting, self-accountable, and put yourself around people who can hold you accountable. Because that's me. I don't want to be around nobody who can't tell me the truth. My homegirl called me this morning, girl, something was bothering her. And a lot of people won't come to me because you intimidate. I don't want those people around me. If you see something, I create a space where you can come and say, Reagan, I ain't like what you did, or I need you to look at it this way. We need to hold one another accountable. I'm sorry I got upset about that thing.
Girl, you fine. Shoot. You are fine.
Because our Black men need to be loved. There's so much that they cannot talk about. I even look at, God had shown me a guy I was dealing with, and we didn't even have this conversation, but we was connected spiritually. So he had shown me where he had been molested, and a lot of his activities of how he was still as a grown man, he was still acting in that. He had been hurt. He had been cheated on. He was still acting in that vein. And it's just like, they need a voice. They need help. They need other men to talk to. And they need them.
They really do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did I have some other questions? Lord, go ahead, Emily. I'm listening.
No, I was about to say, and we just got to stop looking at men as objects. They are people. At the end of the day, they have feelings, they have emotions. They may not express it all the time, but we just got to create and cultivate that space for them to feel comfortable enough to express themselves and not feel judged or feel belittled. And that's one thing like my son and I, we have a better relationship, after he's, left or what have you. He's 18 now. But, I used to fuss at him all the time. Like, don't you cry, da 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 da. You know what I'm saying? And just tear him down. And God had to show me, like, basically you speaking this into him, you making him build these walls, how you're responding to him. And I had to do some evaluating, and I had to realize, okay, yeah, I do have an abrasive tone. So let me figure out a way where I could communicate with him in his language where he'll understand, and I can create an atmosphere, an environment for him to be open enough to talk to me in your language. For him to be able to talk to me in his language and not feel like he gonna be like, man, she gonna pop me.
Yeah.
We can talk. And so with me doing that, I learned how to communicate with men and cultivate in that space. But I had to start at home first.
Yeah.
Your
first ministry is at home.
Exactly.
Before you're going to talk to somebody, you better have your house together.
Right.
Or try. Shoot. Okay, I'm going to switch it a little bit. So, have y'all heard the song Church Girl by Beyonce?
Yeah. Play. Oh, you can play it on here, can you?
Oh.
I've heard it talked about, but I haven't heard it.
Man, can you pull the wires up real quick on the phone or something?
And I will.
Okay. Because, okay, so I know you said you heard it being talked about. I didn't particularly care for the song, but I didn't. Uh-huh. But when everybody got in an upheaval about the words, then I went to look. I said, let me go look at the words, because they was preaching all this stuff. And I was like, what they mad about? But we got to get to the well, I'll go ahead and talk and she can look at the words.
I'm looking up the words right now.
I totally, and I was supposed to do a live on this and I did not, but now we can talk about it. So to me, church girls, okay, here we go. Here's the question. What are church girls most known for? Even on back in the day, what are we known to be?
Thoughtful.
Yeah, some freaks.
That's what I said. Right? Thoughtful. Thoughtful.
But why were we freaks? Tell me why we were freaks. Tell us why.
Because you were so sheltered. Because you couldn't do anything. Yeah.
He's always in church.
Listen to me. So we were competing with the girls of the world. Yeah. So we gonna pop it, drop it, lock it, throw it, spin it, twirl it every way we can. So the song was talking about it was something, and I saw myself. I remember there were years, I'm not talking about one time, there were years I would go to watch night service, but I would be dressed for watch night service, and then I'm going to the club after church is out. Right. You understand what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. And she just spoke about that. And so I was like, I don't see nothing wrong with what she said, because it's the truth. A lot of us were experimenting because it was don't have sex, don't cuss, don't smoke, don't. Everything was a don't with no explanation. Exactly. That was one of the main reasons I started dating is there, because it was always a don't. Nobody explained anything. Mm-hmm. So there were a lot of things we got into that were senseless that we didn't have to, because they weren't explained. Mm-hmm. But my question, I done got caught up into the dang on story about that, because I was like, that's true. Why they mad at Beyonce for telling the truth? And she was raised in the church, so she should know. Can church girls, can saved girls be sexy?
Yes.
I mean, you just see my
I was that way. I feel like I was that way as a pastor's wife. Like, I wore what I wanted to wear. I was not, granted.
And I will.
But I wasn't, I wore what I wanted to wear. I didn't subscribe to the church hat and the cloth. I didn't.
Do you think that it is like we're shunned upon trying to be sexy in the church?
I don't even think it's about it's shunned upon, but at the same time, I don't necessarily think we are trying to be sexy. We just are.
It's tradition. That's all about tradition and religion.
It's the anointing.
I'm just saying. And the anointing is attractive. Like, at the end of the day, Like, I'm not tooting my horn or nothing. I know the anointing on my life. I know when I minister, and I know when I get done, like, I'm open, but at the same time, when I'm doing it, like, people are drawn to the anointing. You know what I'm saying? And so
Sister
it don't matter.
Kendra, you got it too.
Right. It don't matter.
Because she just shifting around. I was like, okay, girl. Come on, girl. But she really wasn't even saying nothing. She was just walking, but she was walking in her authority. And so I don't care if you got on a loincloth or
Thank you.
a dress down to your ankles. If you got it, you got it.
Yeah.
You just got it. And I think we as women, also this side note, need to do better with saying, you know what, she thinks she all that. She think she just what? We gotta quit that.
Exactly.
We gotta quit that. We have got to quit that.
And stop sending people to hell based off of what they got on.
Listen, me and mine look together.
Hello.
We say together. I'd be like, oh, she, you know,
Mm-hmm.
I don't see. I even tell her, you know, like, if a woman looks good or she's attractive, then she looks good and she's attractive.
And tell her.
Thank
and
you.
Tell her. And tell her.
Because I like to give people props.
With confidence.
Ooh.
Kendria, honey, you looking good today, girl. Reagan,
Thank you.
come
girl.
on, sling that hair. Child.
Girl, go back
Yes.
and forth. It come right here and I get hot. And then I move it back and I'm like, okay, but it can come back. And then I'm hot. I do this all day.
But low key, you know, I'm not gonna keep us. We got 5 minutes. I don't like to go over an hour. This has been great, but I appreciate you guys coming 100 times over. I don't think I got to all my questions, but we can come back if you
Right.
wish.
I
Did you want
want
to say
say
something?
I want to say something. I want to say that's, to me, it's a level of low self-esteem.
It is.
When you are pulling from somebody to bring them down. Like,
Right.
no.
I'm not coming to your level. If anything, you need to level up. How about that?
Mm-hmm.
That's a whole nother conversation. Because I believe, I can't speak for y'all, but I know I have been in seasons in my life where my self-esteem has been trash.
Mhm.
Like,
Same.
for a long time, I thought I was ugly, and I just was operating in places and spaces I had no business. But again, we need each other. We
Mhm.
need one another. And so I'm excited to have met Sister Kendria and Ebony. You know, hey, you know what it is. But anyway, I'm not gonna hold y'all. Thank you so much again. Oh, yes. Y'all need to say what you do again. And if you would, when you jump off of here, drop your information below so everybody can follow you. I would appreciate that, please.
Gotcha.
So I do a weekly podcast live stream. I'll put the handles in the comments. I also do once. I'm thinking it's gonna be every other month. I was doing it once a month, but now I think I'm gonna go once every other month. I do a live podcast to where it's in person and it's interactive conversation. No topic is off the table.
You got one coming up next month, right?
I do. It's gonna be called it's actually Single, Married, and Divorced. How to keep it sexy and not salty.
Okay.
Yeah, that's gonna be on December 10th. Yeah, so I'll share the flyer with you once it's done.
Okay, cool.
All right.
Ebony?
Well, it's me, E. Marie Podcast. I come on bi-weekly. I'm actually on a hiatus at the moment, trying to revamp, get my guests pulled in, but I am there to encourage, inspire, uplift, and empower individuals for them to live their true, authentic lives, and just be all that God has created and fashioned of them to be.
All right. And I'm Reagan Adams with All Things Reagan. I have Putting Me First and Dating Is Dead, Who Killed It. So follow me if you wish. All right, guys. So thank you again for joining me. This is Reagan Adams with All Things Reagan. And Reagan says, I think it, I see it, I do it. Good night.
Good night.